One of my New Year's resolutions is to no longer have to sit here watching videos of people saying incredibly stupid things. Another one is to do 50 one-armed chin-ups at the gym, and I'm not going to achieve neither of those, so we might as well just break those resolutions right now and not waste another minute. You know, obviously, one of the highlights of the incoming Trump administration is DOGE as a sort of non-governmental attachment to the government, cutting government for efficiency and stupidity by taking out some of these agencies. Now, the agencies, we're going to take a look at some of the people who receive government funds and listen to the kinds of things they say. So we'll be able to see whether Vivek and Elon are the bad guys or whether we should give them each one of those, samurai swords. So let's take a look at some of the things that the people that our government funds are saying.
CRFI. If you're like many women, you've been to a birthday party or a small office gathering, an event that's meant to bring people together. There's swinging tunes, some adult beverages, and good convo. And then it comes time to cut the cake, and someone decides to ruin everything.
Oh my God, that slice is huge. That slice is bigger than Beyonce's paycheck. Can you cut me half of that?
A cake-related fatphobic incident, or CRFI, is that moment when it's time to eat delicious cake and it's interrupted by a moralizing impulse. Inevitably, there's always someone at the party who has to declare publicly that their slice is too large and that the person who's cutting the cake, almost invariably a woman, must do some disproportionate amount of labor in order to accommodate their need to feel superior.
Who the hell was that? Okay, that's the San Francisco Department of Public Health fat expert or fat shaming expert or something like that. This is an easy one. Vivek and Elon Musk want to go in and cut government spending, but instead of going in and counting the number of dollars that they're cutting, they should just count the number of pounds that they're cutting from some of these departments. A, have a lot more room in the building. B, everyone will be more attractive. C, you'll save a lot of money, so that will also be part of the DOGE idea. And D, you won't have that woman working there anymore, which I think is the most important thing you can do. This is the Department of Health hired this person to tell you to eat more cake. At least that wasn't the federal government, so let's see some more. Who else is on here?
One commonly held misconception about race is that the conversation is not appropriate at certain ages. Babies start noticing race as early as 3 months of age. Racial biases can develop between 4 and 5 years. Teachers and adults play a crucial role in shaping children's attitudes towards race. And silence about race can reinforce racism.
So when we fail to intervene or delay these important conversations for the perfect moment or the perfect picture book, what we're doing is we're creating a vacuum for a child to start absorbing all of the biased, anti-Black, anti-immigrant ways of interpreting the patterns that they're seeing in the world.
So that was the main Department of Education spewing stupidity and racism. And obviously DOGE is going to be a federal agency. So I don't know if they can go in and cut the funding from local departments like that. So here's my suggestion. What they should do, they should just install trapdoors in all of the offices of the departments of education, probably throughout the country. And whenever anybody says anything like we should teach race or we should teach kids, little kids have to be taught to be a different sex than they are, there should just be a button that they can press. We should put the button in Trump's office, I think, so he can have a little TV. I know he loves to watch TV all the time. He can have a TV. And so what you'd see more of is you'd see people like children have to be taught about and they just be gone. And that way, that would get around the fact that the federal government couldn't maybe cut their funding unless we can cut the funding that the federal government sends to state departments of education. And then you just get a lot of people saying, and here's another, they'd just be gone. And just how much more entertaining would going to school be? All right, let's watch some more.
A database of pregnant people that would monitor pregnancies. I say that as if that's like some dystopian nightmare in Missouri, there was the state health commissioner was actually tracking patient menstrual cycles. So this kind of level of surveillance and invasion of privacy into private healthcare medical decisions is work they have been testing in order to essentially codify that inequality in government agencies. Is that scary enough for you?
It is. Yes, it is.
So that was Alexis McGill Johnson, the head of Planned Parenthood. Now, you might say, well, Planned Parenthood is not a government agency, but that's not true. They get a lot. I think most of their funding comes from government payback and from government grants. So Planned Parenthood has put itself out there as the leading experts in women's health, but really they're an abortion mill. And so all of us, when we pay our taxes, are paying into this culture of death. And that was her fantasy, is that Donald Trump is going to be monitoring people's pregnancies. You know what I want to do? I don't care about like nuclear weapons or Vladimir Putin or the war in Ukraine. I just want to know where the pregnant women are. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's what her dream is. There is no amount of money that can't be cut from Planned Parenthood. If there's a thin dime, if there's the edge of a dime, if there's just that little part that you can barely see, that should be cut from Planned Parenthood. I hope I wasn't unclear about that. I hope I wasn't, beating around the bush. Let's hear more.
And I equate diversity being to being invited to the dance. Inclusion is actually being asked to dance. So just because you're a diverse organization doesn't mean that you're actually inclusive. Doesn't mean that people feel that they're a part of the organization, that they're welcome. And so one of my goals is to make sure that we have that environment that's not only diverse in the ranks, but diverse in the leadership and inclusive as well.
You may not have realized this because he was wearing a mask, but that was the Secretary of Defense. Diversity I'm so much in favor of free speech. If I could ban a word, it would be the word. Just hire the best person you can find for the job and let the chips fall where they may. So that's also no masks. Stop. You should not be able to wear a mask unless you're actually Batman. And then you can wear a mask. But other than that, no masks in government anymore. More.
They're increasingly expressing concerns about the upcoming transfer of power and the potential danger of another January 6th. Do you share those concerns at all?
I think our prosecutions have made clear what we think about people who try to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power, which is an essential and fundamental element of our democracy. I quibble about whether we have 1,500 or slightly less than 1,500, but we have way more than 1,400 now prosecutions, and we have a substantial number of convictions. I think that's shown to everybody how seriously we take an effort to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. The last January 6th, the coming January 6th, and every January 6th after that.
So obviously that was Merrick Babyface Garland, the most corrupt attorney general that I can remember, although there have been some buttes. Here's the thing about this. I don't think you can actually cut the Department of Justice. I think the Department of Justice needs to be vigorous, healthy, needs to be well-stocked, needs to be well-manned. What you need to do is you need to purify it. And the way to purify it is really easy. You open up all the doors of the Department of Justice, and then you have Hercules reroute the Potomac so that the water just flows through the Department of Justice until the entire building is open. That would be a good way. I think that's a little expensive. To hire Hercules, the guy, he doesn't come cheap. He's the strongest man in the world. He can reroute rivers. So these are subtle things, because you can't just cut the Department of Justice. We need a Department of Justice. That's an actual department that we need, but we don't need them to be corrupted. So everyone, gone. All right, more?
You've said that public education and public schools are under attack. I'm wondering whether this is something that other education secretaries have had to grapple with.
I've been in education, about 25 years, not including the time I was in higher ed as a student. I've never seen it where it is now. There was civility. We could disagree. We could have healthy conversations around what's best for kids. I respect differences of opinions. I don't have too much respect for people that are misbehaving in public and then acting as if they know what's right for kids.
Just to show you that I'm a civilized person, not a radical in any way. That was Dr. Miguel Cardona, the head of the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education. I would really like to make sure that Miguel Cardona gets out of the building before it's leveled. In fact, I want everybody in the Department of Education to be out. This is just how merciful, what a kind person I am. I want everyone to be out of the Department of Education before it is first set on fire, then the ashes leveled, then salted, to make sure that nothing grows there ever again, and then consecrated to make sure the demons fly away from it.
Go back to hell.
And I feel that way about most departments. Even the Department of Justice, which I think we should keep, I feel we should get the people out of the building and never let them back in, and then bring in new people. But all of the buildings, government departments, should be emptied before they're destroyed, and then they should be destroyed, almost all of them. If you agree that we should level the Department of Education, like and subscribe. Even if you disagree, just like and subscribe, and also subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcast.